River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Friday Parlay edition of Niner Nuts. I am Danny B, here along with Eric, Easy E. No Jimmy B today. Couldn't get Jimmy in, but he did consult with our parlay pick. Easy E, say hello. I stepped on you there.
No problem, man. What's up, everybody?
Yes, and like I said, guys, this is our parlay episode. It has evolved quite a bit if you're a longtime fan of the show. This is a more traditional, not a long shot this time. We have a little bit more skin in the game, so I wouldn't have necessarily wanted to go for some long shots in this one. But we do have a really interesting parlay for this one. We only have picks. Here we go. We only have picks for our game on here. At least that was the picture you sent me, right? This was the only game that we decided to.
Yep.
I just remember behind the curtain. I saw we had some potential picks for the other game, but but yeah, we're sticking with the Lions at the 49ers, which is at Sunday at 6:30. So this will be a real quick episode, guys. Not take too much of your time, but we'll start at the top. Detroit Lions plus 14.5 alternate spread. Elaborate on this one a little bit more for me, like why it says to the layman why they might be like, wait, we're betting on the Lions to score 14 points. Like, elaborate what this means.
Yeah, sure. So all it simply means is that the Lions are essentially getting 14.5 points to start the game. So it's kind of like the game starts off 14.5-0 in favor of the Lions. And that basically just gives them a cushion. So what we're saying is that we're hoping by all means that the 49ers are going to win, but that they won't win by more than 14.5 points, so that the Lions would still fall within that 14.5 point range in terms of the victory, so that the score would essentially be, it could be 21-14, could be even 28-14. Then the little half point there would get us over the edge on this particular bet. This kind of comes down to the fact that the current line is 7 on Draftkings. And, we think that bumping it up an extra touchdown and a half point there kind of gives us the little bit of the cushion that, even if the 49ers hopefully play great and hopefully rock the Lions, can't see this being like a ginormous blowout, and that this would help us cover that span of points there.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I did a little bit of my own research just to confirm, like, because I was that layman that was like, the Lions 14 points, we want to win this game. But so that's why I wanted you to explain it, just to make sure that we understood that we're all on the same page on that. Because that is a realistic, and I completely am for that being a good alternate spread for the first pick. Second pick on our parlay, George Kittle anytime touchdown. If Debo plays, it's not going to be at 100%. Like, let's be real. We got some really, really good news that he was limited in practice today. As we tape this on Thursday, the 25th, we got some really good news that he played limited today, and then there's no practice tomorrow or Friday or Saturday. Or no, they don't practice on Friday, right? Remind me.
They should practice on Friday, yeah.
Okay,
it would just be like a walkthrough, but they should practice.
Right, and it would still be if we were practicing, or there we go. If we were practicing, he would be limited. He would be full. Like, yeah, but okay, that's right.
They will have to list an injury designation for him tomorrow.
Yeah, no, and I've heard Kyle say if this was a real practice, it would have been a limited tag. Like, okay, I don't know why I completely forgot if we practice on Friday for real or not. But anyway, Debo's not going to be 100% if he is playing. And George Kittle scored last week. I always, on my tickets separate from the show or in the show, I always try to, Kittle's going to get a touchdown. Kittle's going to get a touchdown. Like, and he was not a touchdown machine this year. He hasn't been a touchdown machine since 21 was the last time the only time he had double-digit touchdowns in a season. So that is kind of a crapshoot. But I think in lieu of Debo not being 100%, I'm not saying he's out yet. And technically we don't know until Saturday, if not an hour before kickoff. This seems like a pretty safe bet that George Kittle's going to get a lot of targets because, like I have been reminding you guys, Detroit's secondary up to the top sucks. So We didn't put Brandon on here, but you see we do have another 49er on here that we think will get touchdowns. But in terms of the passing, because Kittle doesn't rush, I think it's a very safe bet that Kittle's going to get a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, when we were putting this all together, we were kind of sending our own cards back and forth amongst ourselves. We all had Kittle down for an anytime touchdown, so that kind of made it an easy one to put on this particular parlay for us all involved. Kind of the same thing that you think. I think passing is going to be the way to attack the Lions. I think we're going to be airing it out. Kittle has had a great rapport with Purdy. He's had 1,000-yard season this year. It's only his third 1,000-yard season ever, and his first since 2019. He did put up 6 total touchdowns this season, which was second best touchdowns that he's ever put up in a year. So, I mean, like, he's had a good season, and he's been pretty reliable, and he's been pretty dependent. I think that the Lions are going to continue the trend of doubling Ayuk and kind of taking him out of the game. And as you mentioned, you say Debo's not going to be 100%. I still don't think Debo's even going to play. So I think that makes Kittle even more of a threat and more of a possibility to score. And, I think if we're going to win this game, he's going to have to be a huge factor, and no better way to be a big factor than to score touchdowns.
Yeah, they're going to have to take the gamble on having him run over the middle. I know we really like having him on the line, especially whether it's making an impossible wall to block up from the defensive side, going to the left, or helping Colton out on the right. With Debo not being 100%, and if he doesn't play, especially, like, we got to take some of those shots over the middle. Like, we just gotta put it on Purdy to keep upright and avoid Aiden Hutchinson and just try to take a shot over the middle. And that's where Kittle comes in. If not Brandon, because Brandon's going to kick the crap out of Sutton. I know they'll have a safety over him for help, but Sutton sucks. So
yeah, very true.
Oh my God. Did you see his stat line? I know I love dogging on this guy, but his stat line against Mike Evans was atrocious. It was like 8 for 130 or 140 and a touchdown. Like, it was terrible.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyway, the next one, I feel like this was a pretty simple, pretty easy one. This hit last week. This was on my personal ticket, one of the only things that hit. Each team to score a touchdown and a field goal. I think it's realistic to expect that each of us will hit pay dirt and then come up short at least once. This seems like a super easy. I don't have anything else to elaborate on this.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would elaborate on this in is I don't know why I didn't realize this was a bet that I could make more often this season, and I would put it on a lot more tickets. I mean, this, for a football game, for each team to score a touchdown and a field goal, I mean, granted, it doesn't really give you like that great of odds on its own, but when you throw it in a parlay with a bunch of other stuff, like, it kind of, it boosts things up at a pretty decent amount. So, I mean, to me, it's just like free money, essentially. I mean, granted, I haven't really been all that successful this year gambling, but this particular bet itself has hit, I think, every time that I've put it in a ticket this year. So, I mean, I feel very confident with having it in on this one as well. I mean, I just don't see a scenario where I don't see a scenario where the Niners don't hit at least one touchdown and one field goal. I mean, if we lose because the Lions don't get a touchdown and a field goal, well, good.
Right.
Oh, darn.
This wouldn't have hit. This wouldn't have hit with the Bills game, would it have? Because I don't remember. I don't think this would have hit with the Bills in the Buffalo game. But no, it's pretty close. It's pretty close to guaranteed money. It's pretty close to guaranteed money with that.
Yeah.
So anyway, the next one, Christian McCaffrey to score 2 at minimum touchdowns. Again, tying it back to Debo and how bad that secondary is. Like, if we pick on the secondary enough, the box has got to lighten up. If we get into like an and goal situation, like less than 5 or less yards, I could see Christian pushing through when it's that close to the end zone. And they're probably going out of their way to scheme him better into the passing game. So with how much of a touchdown machine he was, and with how much is on the line in this game, James really spearheaded putting this one into the ticket, and I'm all for riding or dying with this one.
Yeah, this is kind of where we start the stretch of the ticket where I was a little bit unsure about some of these picks. I don't probably feel as confident about McCaffrey getting 2 touchdowns as you guys do. I don't really think that our ground game is going to be terribly effective against the Lions. So that concerns me in terms of him being able to get the 2 touchdowns, because traditionally when a guy kind of gets multiple scores in a game, it's because he really sort of just breaks off a run, and kind of goes like Christian did last week when he took off for like the 39-yard score. And I don't feel like the Lions are going to give up those things. So unless we get down in a couple of goal to go situations and, he knocks in some stuff from inside the 5, I'm a little concerned about that. Now, I do think that, again, kind of tying back to the whole Debo thing, I think if we end up having to use McCaffrey in some odd or slightly different ways in terms of screening him and getting him out on more choice routes and Texas routes and stuff like that in the middle of the field there, or even on the outsides even, or send him on a wheel route, down the field, whatever. I think then you do have some opportunities for him to get a score like that as well. But I'll be pleasantly surprised if this part of our ticket hits. And again, will be great, because if the 49ers score 2 touchdowns from McCaffrey, things are probably looking pretty good.
Well, I don't remember if we mentioned it on what would be yesterday's episode, or 2 days ago's episode, but this is the first NFC Championship we'll have had at home since 2019. Like, that's a big difference, playing on the road versus playing at home. I'm not saying we're gonna strike gold, pun intended, like we did against Green Bay, because I don't frankly remember how good Green Bay was coming into that game. but no, that is going to be a really, really big difference. And I don't know. I want to go out of the way and think that the Lions' offensive line being hurt is 100% going to play into our favor, because that center is not going to be 100%. I can't believe the injury designation that he has. And then their left guard is out. So that could potentially give us more opportunities to be on the field, and then we can wear out their defense. But I just, knock on wood, we'll see.
There's a lot of different ways the games can go to make this into a reality. Like I said, we could end up screening and hitting him with a bunch of little check down passes and stuff like that, and him kind of playing not necessarily the Debo role, but getting a lot of the touches that Debo would typically get. So he gets more opportunities that way. We could get inside of the goal to go situations and we hand it to him and he pounds it in. We could, by all means, hopefully, and what I'm hoping for is that we're up by 20 plus points, and we just start running the ball with McCaffrey to try to wear out the clock, and run off time to keep the Lions from getting the ball back. And, he gets some chances to score that way too. So, there's a lot of different ways that it can shake out and a lot of possibilities. If anybody's going to score 2 touchdowns from our team, I would certainly bet on it to be McCaffrey. This is the one that causes me some consternation.
So we're also, by proxy, taking the bet that we're going to score 3 touchdowns at least. By proxy.
Yeah, indeed.
But yeah, the next one, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he did not score against Tampa, surprisingly. But as much as I love Tarvarius Ward, I've sang his praises. He should have been a first-team All-Pro, at least to me. But that's Amon St. Brown. That is a tall, tall task. And I don't know. I have not heard definitively if we're going to glue him onto Brown, or if it'll be a gamble, or like if he's in the slot, if the Amador is going to cover him still. Like, we'll see that in real time. But I don't know. I really, really, really doubt that we're going to keep him out of the end zone. Like, he's their number one. He's a beast. He is a first team All-Pro. And sometimes we've had historically trouble keeping number ones in check. Ward's been doing a much better job at it this year, but it's just really, really hard to see Amon-Ra not getting into the end zone. So that's why he will score a touchdown at least once on our ticket.
Yeah, dude had 10 touchdowns this season. So, he definitely knows how to find the end zone. There's no mistake in that. I am a firm believer that Ward can be that shutdown corner. Like we talked a little bit in the podcast earlier this week, Ward shut down after that first drive. He shut down an entire half of the field. They didn't, other than the time that he fell down, they didn't throw his way the entire rest of the game. So
set the tone with that end zone breakup. Just set the tone there.
Yeah. So I'm really looking for him to do the same on St. Brown. Now, I think St. Brown is a better receiver than what Ward was facing last week. So I don't think that he's necessarily going to blank St. Brown and completely dominate that side of the field like he did against the Packers. But I do think and believe that he's going to slow him down and hopefully hold him in check. I would assume that the other Lions receivers are going to get a lot more touches and probably a lot more opportunity to score. But Brown's kind of been their guy. He's their top target guy. He's their leading receiver all season long. So it makes sense to kind of follow the lead dog in the race and put him in there and see if he's going to score.
Reynolds or Jefferson. I don't know which one's their slot receiver, but Reynolds or Jefferson versus Demo is going to be a really interesting battle because Demo's low-key been a really, really good nickel. But then the real matchup, the real weak link, because every secondary's got one weak link or weak link that you just pick on, and Thomas has to really step up. Thomas is going to be going against Jefferson or Reynolds most likely the whole game. Because I agree with you. I can't imagine we're not going to have Ward stick to Brown.
Yeah,
he's going to have a tall task. He got burnt real bad last week. He's got to play better. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think that he can do that. I think Thomas can
his
play
ceiling's definitely
better.
up there.
Yeah, I don't doubt that he can play better. He's had issues with pass interference in the past. That was kind of his thing when he was coming up, was he was getting too many calls for pass interference. So we'll see how he does this week. It's definitely going to be a challenge for him. I don't know that I haven't watched a lot of Lions football. So admittedly, I don't know that much. But I don't believe those guys outside of St. Brown are real, real great, real precise route runners. I think they're more just kind of burners. I think they're more just fast guys. So I think as long as Thomas can do a good job of not letting those guys get behind him and just keep the play in front of him and make the tackle when the opportunity arises, I think that's going to really kind of be the bigger key, more so than having to do a bunch of, worrying about, him cutting this way, cutting that way and stuff like that. I think it's really just going to be more, play that kind of off coverage and just sort of keep the play in front of him and then rally up and make the tackle. And he's going to have help on that safety side. Whichever safety's on that side is going to roll over and help him as well.
On his side, I believe it's usually Gibson, but they never. I don't watch the 22 film. And they never stay wide enough to make sure the safeties are in.
They flip sometimes too. So
right. And speaking of safeties, like Ryan has supplanted Brown. Kyle said it was because he didn't want the rookie to be overwhelmed with the moment. Okay, sure. So it's Logan Ryan and Deshaun Gibson that are going to start this week, which makes sense. Like, yeah, scapegoat that he had a knee injury, but it's Logan Ryan. He's a very experienced veteran.
Well, in the press conference today, Wilkes called out Ryan and said that he needed to play better and needed to tackle better. So hopefully he heeds that message and does a better job this week.
He's been on the roster for like a month. Yeah, you need to call him out on it still because you're the coach. But what the hell do you expect from a 32-year-old safety? Like,
especially when you get there and hit the crap out of people, evidently.
Of course, you're going to be a little rusty. But anyway, the next one, Brock Purdy, alternate passing yards. The passing yards, I believe, when I first looked at it, was like 262 or 265. I really pushed for this one. I think I did not want to take it all the way to 300. I stopped myself short of that, which you're at 291. Why don't you just I really could see some crazy, I could really see it like just being shy of it, like a 297, 296. Like, I didn't want to push it all the way to 300, but I did want to kind of get close to there because I think he'll have more passing yards than 260. Like last week, that secondary was low-key good in Green Bay, and the pressure was doing a good job getting to him. I think with how bad the secondary is, we're going to be able to take advantage of that, even with the Lions' good rush, and with how close it is, he probably would break 300, but yeah, no, I feel very comfortable that Brock Purdy is going to be able to get a lot of passing yards and take advantage of that secondary. I'm just being cocky with this one.
Well, what this does to me is this gives me a heart attack because this tells me that we're in a shootout with the Lions and we're having to sling the ball around, and that makes me insanely nervous, right? Because I would much rather that we're up 21 points and Purdy's just turning around and handing the ball off to McCaffrey and not throwing the ball at all. So
he's benched in the fourth quarter and he's only at 250.
Yeah, that's what I want to happen. Screw my ticket. That's fine. So this makes me feel like we're in a shootout and we're going back and forth and we're rallying and we're trying to score points still. And we're still needing to drive. And, we're only up by a touchdown in the fourth quarter and we're still having to push and score points. So this particular line in our bet makes me extraordinarily nervous, to be honest, and that's why I hate it. So
I feel that I did actually give that sentiment to my fiance while we were watching. I don't remember which game, but I told her that, oh no, it was our game, and they talked about how Purdy had like some of the lowest attempts in the league. I was like, yeah, when a quarterback is attempting 60 passes a game, that's usually not a good sign.
Yeah. And so this bet just scares me because it makes me feel like we're in some sort of a shootout with the Lions, whereas I would much rather we're just up and controlling the ball. And, it's like we run on first, we run on second. Oh, it's 3rd and 7. Okay. Well, we threw a little slant pass or a little screen pass or a little check down pass. Oh, darn, didn't get the first down. Oh, well, punt away. Go ahead, Lions, try and score. You can't do anything. Like, that's the kind of game that I want to see. And you have us in some sort of freaking race to 40 points with a shootout with Purdy throwing for 300 yards. And we've got him throwing for 3 touchdowns, probably with 2 to McCaffrey and 1 to Kittle. I'm nervous as hell now.
I am making a big assumption that the box is cramped and clogged up and Purdy has to throw a lot. But maybe this will bite me in the butt, but the yak I think is really going to be. I don't think it's going to be all air yards. Like Purdy can hit through the air pretty good, but yeah. I think with how that secondary looked against Tampa, I think both things could happen. I think they could leave open pockets in the middle, but I also think that they could be really bad at tackling, and a lot of it comes from the yards after the catch. So that's like the real reason I picked this is because, like we've talked about, the box could be bottled up. So
yeah,
I don't know. I couldn't push it all the way to 300, but if anybody wants to say, well, why didn't you? 290's close enough. Like, sure.
Well,
I get what you mean.
We talked about it in the other pod too about Detroit's bad at tackling. I mean, we said that they'd missed like 10% of their tackles or something like that this season compared to the Niners missing like 5.5%. So, I mean, almost double the missed tackles this season. So your point about getting those yak yards and stuff like that certainly is valid. Believe me, I would love nothing more than for them to like throw one to, Kittle across the middle of the field and him just break the safety's tackle and go to the house, right? I mean, take it 50 yards to the house. I mean, I would love to see that, or McCaffrey do the same, or, any of our guys do that, by all means,
send the house and leave Kittle with a linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, please do that against us. Do that all day long and see how that gets you. It just, like I said, it makes me feel like we're in a shootout, and that worries me because I don't want that. My heart can't take another game like that, Dan. You'll be doing the podcast with my corpse next week if we have a game like that again.
Oh, I feel that. No, I do feel that. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it is just a bunch of yak and just 20-yard versions of chunk passes, but
yeah.
Hopefully we're not in a shootout. Anyway, to move this a little bit because we know we have a hard out. Jahmyr Gibbs. This is the only one that it doesn't really like tighten me up like super bad, but picking one line running back to score over the other one to me is a really big crapshoot. Like we're making a stance, and it would have gone one way or the other, but I'm cool with having one of them on the ticket, but whoever more passionately, I can't remember if it was you or James, whichever one of you more passionately said Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the one to score. Cool. That's more confidence than I have picking either of them. Like, because Montgomery is the power guy and Gibbs is the speed guy, and they both have had games where one scored and the other one didn't. So like, it's how people complain about picking us for fantasy, any of our pass catchers for fantasy. That's how I looked at this. But I mean, no, I wasn't going to blackball it. And we're riding with Gibbs.
Yeah, James had this on his ticket when we were putting things together, and we put it on there for him. I think you're kind of right. It's kind of a crapshoot which guy is going to be the guy that scores. I think Gibbs has a little bit better of a chance just based upon the way that we play and the way that teams typically play us. If
How
our
we're terrible
front,
with screens.
yeah, exactly. I was just leading to that. Like if our front four is doing what they're supposed to be doing in this game and getting pressure on Goff, then they're going to be going back to the quick pass into the short screen game and trying to get the ball out of Goff's hands quickly, which that's going to lead to Gibbs being out there for more plays and getting more passes. He's definitely their receiving back that they have and that they use for that kind of thing. And, we generally speaking don't do a great job guarding screens because our guys are just pushing up, trying to get to the quarterback. So, oftentimes it leaves. Now, granted, a lot of times Warner and Greenlaw clean that stuff up or the corners and safeties come up and make tackles, but sometimes we get burnt on those. And so, I could definitely see a situation where Detroit catches us with a screen and Gibbs is so fast and so shifty. That he shakes one or two of our guys and gets into the end zone on a 20-yard, screen scamper, something like that. So wouldn't surprise me if this bet hit.
Yeah, no, you can make the convincing argument either way. I would be saying, yeah, if you said, oh, I know that they are going to get in a 2-yard situation and Montgomery's going to punch it in. Okay, I can believe that too.
Yeah.
But no, Gibbs, with how bad we can be inside open space, like with screens or sweeps. Yeah, no, I can see Jahmyr Gibbs breaking off a couple of those because we're still pretty bad. We've gotten better, but we're still not great at that.
Yeah,
anyway,
I think he scored in a number of games in a row too, if I'm not mistaken. So he scored the last 3 games in a row. He scored a touchdown the last 3 games in a row too, and he put up 10 touchdowns in the regular season. And that actually looks like those might just be rushing scores looking on here. So, he's been pretty reliable for them as an option. So
right.
He has, is that right? Huh. I would have never now I did admit earlier that I don't watch a lot of Lions football. I would have never guessed he only has 1 receiving touchdown this season.
Really?
Yeah.
Hold on. How do you spell his last name? Gybbs?
Gibbs.
Oh, I'm trying to.
He has 10 rushing touchdowns and only 1 receiving touchdown.
Here we go. I finally just found him on. Roto World 2, or what used to be Roto World.
I would have never imagined that.
Dang, he's only lost 1 fumble and fumbled overall twice. Wow, Jesus, he's got great ball security too.
Yeah, that's really. I would have said the guy had at least 4 or 5 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, that's really surprising to me.
No, hell of a rookie season.
Yeah.
Of course, like we're just listeners. We're not unaware that he's a great player, but
yeah. Well, so he didn't really do much of anything for the first 4 weeks of the season. Then he was inactive for 2 weeks because he was hurt. So really, since week 7, when he's been back full time, all the way through week 17, he scored all 10 of his rushing touchdowns. So he's been a pretty big cog in the wheel for them ever since he's come back after week 7. So probably a stronger bet to put in there than you or I really initially thought, to be honest.
Well, there we go. Good thing we put it in.
Thank God for Jimmy B. Thank God for Jimmy B.
Yes, thank you, Jimmy. Just scheduling, guys. It was just scheduling this time. He's fine. Just scheduling didn't work for this episode. But anyway, if you got a problem gambling or want to get some help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All these numbers are subject to change. We placed this bet on the 25th, so just these are not the odds necessarily that you will see. And again, 1-800-GAMBLER if you have a problem. I should really make a graphic for that. I will try to remember that this offseason or before the Super Bowl. But anyway, guys, that is all we got for our parlay ticket. The sponsor for the show, who has been a wonderful sponsor all season, RoyalRetros.com. What is RoyalRetros.com? It is your go-to place to get it's your go-to place to get an authentic throwback jersey. They cover all the major sports, including football, but also basketball, hockey, soccer, baseball. And right now, check out the Candlestick collection. It is curated specifically for us Niners fans in mind. So once you find something that you like, throw it in your cart and use the promo code Shady Sports to get 10% off of your entire order. That's everything in your cart. Again, use Shady Sports in the code part when you check out to get 10% off your entire order. Again, thank you, RoyalRetros.com, for sponsoring us. Go get yourself an authentic jersey today. Guys, we have also, if you are unaware, new to the show, we have been championing raising owner standards to be the same as player standards, because a lot of owners, all the way back to Daniel Snyder, we've talked about it ad nauseum on the show, Daniel specifically, but other owners have been getting away with things for a very long time that the league has just been sitting on and not holding those owners to the same standards. Our own CEO, acting owner, so to say, Jed York, got in trouble. The Texans minority owner also, comes to mind. Tepper of the Panthers, he hasn't done anything criminal yet, but he's kind of a jerk. So, basically, we started this hashtag owner standards over player standards, hashtag owner accountability. Once we knew about the Texans minority owner, that's when we started really spearheading this, just to raise awareness. And just we think it's something, we think it should be pretty easy to hold the owners to the same standards as players. But and part of this, we are raising money for a charity. We will announce who it will be in the coming weeks, and we may or may not have them on the show. A little teaser there coming in the next couple weeks. So with that, the money from these shirts will be going to this crisis center in Kentucky. There we go. This is our more standard shirt, owner standards over player standards, hashtag owner accountability. This one has the most variety of colors and actual shirt styles. Pricing starting at $22.99. And again, proceeds will be going to the crisis center. We do not want any money from these shirts. As of right now, we have not pulled this shirt yet, as of right now, but it will be going away very, 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 very soon. So it won't be when you are listening to this, just thinking when we're taping, but it might if you listen to this episode late. Just that we designed this initially with the Daniel Snyder campaign that we were doing, and now that this campaign is coming to a close, the shirt will very likely be gone for a very, very, very long time if it even comes back at all. So go ahead and grab it now before it's gone. The next one is our cover art. This is just the standard cover art that you see on Spotify, Apple Music, and wherever you listen to us. It's also at the start and end of our YouTube show. But yeah, $22.99 for this shirt. Our alternate logo in this beautiful red and the goalposts, flying peanuts. This is a really, really cool design. I personally like this a lot. This one also has a couple different color variants, but red looks best in my opinion. You can get that. And then the last shirt, our mascot of the peanut eating peanuts in his Niners hat, getting ready to cheer on the Niners as they beat the Lions in the NFC Championship game. This shirt is up there as well. Again, all the proceeds from all these shirts go to the Crisis Center in Kentucky, and they are on bonfire.com. The link to get to bonfire.com is in the show notes. No matter how you listen or watch to us, Bonfire is there, or you can just Google Niner Nuts and Bonfire in Google, and I promise you we're the first ones to come up. I tested it. We are the only ones that come up because that is a very specific search. But yeah, go ahead and go grab your shirts now, and we will have a very big announcement about us, how we're going to be closing out this charity to close out with the coinciding with the end of the season as well. We got some big news coming up on that. So with that, the only thing that news-wise, there's been a lot of coaching hires, and don't be surprised if that ends up being an episode that we do next week, a whole 20-30 minutes, because there have been a lot of coaching hires. I will pitch that to the other team though, Eric, because I feel like that's a lot more than a little blurb at the end of an episode. We have plenty to talk about there, but yeah, the Lions offensive line is really banged up, and Debo was getting limited practice, so that was the only real big news that I thought was appropriate to close out the show with. Praying for you, Debo. We know you listen to the show. Please come back, even if you're just in uniform and don't step on the field. Just psych them out being in your shoulder pads. Whatever you can do, man. We really need you for this game if we can.
For
Eric,
sure.
you got anything to close out the show?
I just wanted to give a shout out to the guys that made the AP finalists for awards this season. So McCaffrey was listed as a finalist for the most valuable player. this season. Purdy is also a finalist for MVP. Let's see.
Kyle for coach.
Kyle's coach. Christian's also offensive player of the year. So a lot of awards for the 49ers that they're up for contention this year. I think Christian has a shot at offensive player of the year. Probably be between him and Tyreek, probably. But we'll see how that all shakes out. But good for those guys. Good to see them honored. Nice to see that national recognition. Especially like and appreciate the love for Purdy. He's been getting a lot of hate in the media this past week. So like to see him getting that national recognition as being a great player because he is great.
Yeah, no, 100%. Thank you for reminding me that those came out today too. Just in a remark, this is an award that I can actually like stand behind more than some other awards. That a nomination really is as nice as getting the actual award. Purdy absolutely needed to be in the MVP conversation. So did Christian. Christian for Offensive Player of the Year. 100% he deserves to. I'd be shocked if he wasn't the front runner for that, if not just for Tyreek Hill. Like, don't have time to go through all that again. But I think Kyle got recognized as a Coach of the Year nominee again. Like,
I don't know how long they. But...
Oh no, God no! I'd have to look at the nominees again. But
Stefanski and Ryans are both on there, so one of those two guys should win.
Oh, and Campbell's in there too. Campbell's definitely in the conversation. I don't know if he's the front runner anymore, but no, like a month ago, I texted the group that Stefanski's going to be Coach of the Year now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, or Ryans either. I'd be so happy for Ryans if he got Coach of the Year in his first year.
Yeah.
And honestly, Campbell, now that he's taken the team to the NFC Championship game, like, honestly, Campbell has a great chance for it too. Like, just how quickly he's turned around Detroit in 3 years. Like,
yeah, I mean, let's not spoil it. We could do we're going to need content, so I mean, we could do our take on the awards and who we think should win and stuff like that. So,
oh yeah, reactions to the awards for sure. Yeah. Hey, there's another thing we can pitch, James, when we're back next week. But yeah, no, guys, that's all we got for this episode. I know we're running a little long, and yeah, we're 2 days away. Our game kicks off at 6:30 on Fox with Kevin and Greg calling it again, which is fine. Sorry, Papa, I'm not going to listen to you again because I like Greg and Kevin quite a bit. But yeah, cheer loud and proud, guys. We're going to need it. It's going to be a big game, guys. Let's just soak it all in. Outro music by Justin Muth. It's River Road. We'll catch you next week. Beat the Lions.
Yep. Go Niners.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long. River Road, where have all the women gone? Have they kissed her hand and waved you bye-bye? Have they thought about crossing your double yellow lines? River Road, they love the way you whine and cry.